Hello and welcome back. I'm Advent Nebula.
And I'm Cruellica Kain, and this is Pop Culture Therapy.
So, as we were going over last week, we were going to be talking about spoiler culture now, because gatekeeping kind of leads into that in a way.
I think in a pretty hefty way, because fans know what's going on.
And shitposters like me online tend to use spoiler culture as a way to troll the gatekeepers.
So, the definition, and I actually love the fact that they have an official definition of spoiler culture, is spoiler culture insists that the most important aspect of a film or of any property is the plot, and that the plot is something to be protected at all costs. So in spoiler culture, if we look at it in the true means, it means being careful. Actually, two sides of the coin. Being careful of what you share so you don't spoil anything for the public, or not caring that not everyone has seen something yet.
We don't care. And at the same time, I also use it as a way to shitpost on people.
See, I don't mind finding out spoilers sometimes. Like, if I find out a spoiler, it's not the end of the world. However, I do have a problem with people who will spoil something hours after it has aired.
Cinema Blend, stop doing that with your articles, please.
So one example outside of Cinema Blend is one of the most recent Attack on Titan episodes.
It's probably about, 4 or 5 weeks back now?
Not that long back.
Yeah.
It was like 2 weeks. One of the major characters since the beginning of the series has died. Obviously, we're not going to spoil it for you. But if you care about the series, as I did and Kaiju did, I didn't care because it wasn't like the end of the world. Kaiju, on the other hand, he is an advocate, like a straight shooter advocate. You do not spoil anything for people. And if you're going to say something as a spoiler, either have a spoiler tag or make it where only certain people can see it. But this spoiled a major character death for a lot of people.
And a lot of people do not keep up with the manga.
No, and yes, you could say in the spoiler culture world, if you have a property that's based off a book, a manga, any other form of medium, it's your own fault. But on the flip side, you can't expect everyone to have watched it that day.
Yeah. Like, there's one series that'll go into the spoiler culture. It's like, because it's been memed to hell with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, yes. A lot of people at this point that are fans have been spoiled already. They don't care. It's the new people coming in that are probably laughing at the memes that don't realize that's a spoiler.
Well, and that's the difference, I think, with spoiler culture. Spoiler culture, some people take it to the extreme of, no, you can't talk about any property at all. However, there are a lot of, like you said, fun memes, fun stories. And yeah, many of them can be taken out of context until you find out what they are. But it's so hilarious just to have fun with it. And I think fans are so eager to share their love for something.
Oh yeah, they are. Then you have one, and yes, we're going to open up a can of worms because of just how shitty the ending was. But Game of Thrones was probably where the whole spoiler culture thing really started in modern pop culture.
Yes, and where it really took off, because within the first, I would say, I think it's 5 seasons, it was canon to the book. While certain things
in season 6 were given the George R.R. Martin seal of approval,
they definitely veered off the track of what was already written. And with that, spoiler culture was a problem. And it wasn't just a problem for the individuals who had read the books and knew it was going to happen. It was also for the people who watched the shows every week as they aired.
And the two big things were Jon Snow's death and the Red Wedding.
Oh my God. Everybody with the Red Wedding. I don't know how many times I had heard, even before I got to the season, I was super, this is the one time I was like super aggravated because I'm like, it sounds goth as hell. And everybody's like, oh, just wait until you get to the Red Wedding. And yeah, it's kind of cool because you can get that anticipation as a new fan who doesn't know much about it. But that's the other problem with spoiler culture. It hypes you up.
Yeah.
Because look at Marvel. The Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's already bad enough, and I mean this in a good way because I love all the movies, that they hype up their own movies with their marketing.
And it's brilliant.
It's a brilliant marketing strategy.
Because they don't spoil anything in their trailers ever since, and this is basically what Feige did, after Iron Man 2 spoiled too much in his trailer, they went, okay, we're cutting these trailers just to highlight moments without spoiling anything.
Exactly. And they do such a brilliant marketing strategy. And the problem with movies like this is, and actually most movies in general, they do not come out internationally at the same time. So certain countries may get them a couple weeks before or a couple of weeks after we do.
Yeah, this is going to, with James Bond this year, it's going to be the first time Bond is simultaneously released at the same time, North America and the UK, because of the COVID delays. Normally, Bond would be released 3 to 5 weeks ahead of time in the UK before we would see it.
And with the spoiler culture aspect of people holding the plot so close to their chest, you have those lovely individuals who will spoil a plot. And there's a difference between shitposting and spoiling. Because I will jokingly say something happens, only to my friends and people I know, that will never happen in the movie because it's funny. But to truly ruin an experience for someone is the worst ever.
Which, I have done that to people that have really pissed me off online.
Yes. And the reason why we wanted to talk about this is, once again, as you probably see from the last few weeks of our podcast, is we're looking at social media.
Which really has escalated in a lot of negative aspects, I want to say, since after Christmas.
I will say yes. It was bad all throughout COVID, but for some reason, the holiday season, because everybody was home, they just went crazier and off the deep end.
And it seems like since we've gotten into 2021, the deep end has just gone further into the abyss.
So, and a good example of how social media is a target, and I'm going to use Twitter as an example because Twitter is the primary offender.
Especially with WandaVision and The Mandalorian Season 2.
And if you think about like your contest shows, like RuPaul or The Masked Singer, those shows, what will happen is, because so many people watch these shows, all 4 that we just named, they will trend on Twitter. Usually they'll just trend by the title.
Or Reddit, they will trend on with the way Reddit is now.
But the problem is, that will trend, and depending on how it's set up, sub-trends will come up with specific character names.
Or, depending on who you're following or what subreddit you're in, you're going to probably get unintentionally spoiled. Or Facebook, if you're subscribed to Cinema Blend, or one of those other sites like comicbook.com. They decide to put the spoiler right in the headline, right there smack dab in your face.
Exactly. And so you get, in any of the social media platforms, you will unintentionally get spoiled because everyone is so excited immediately when it airs to talk about it that they don't consciously think about everyone or time zones. So this is another thing that you have to recognize. In the United States alone, we have 4 time zones.
6 if you count Alaska and Hawaii.
Yes, but we'll just go with continental U.S. So continental U.S., we have the 4 primary time zones. Just because we have those 4 primary time zones doesn't mean if something airs at 8 o'clock in New York, it's going to air at 4 o'clock in California. What you get in New York, for an example, it may air at 8 o'clock there. It's still going to air at maybe 7 or 8 o'clock in California.
Yeah. The only 2 time zones where the things air pretty much around the same time are the Mountain and Central time zones.
Mm-hmm. Because there's so many states that are cut off between the 2. Because Colorado is very close to the Central time zone. So I imagine for some of their programming, they get Central versus Mountain. So if you have states that are so close to a time zone, you're going to be teeter-tottering on that. But usually with Mountain, they will say 9 o'clock Central time, 8 o'clock Mountain time. The problem is, once again, New York has already seen it. We are behind.
By an hour.
By an hour or 2. California is...
They're 2 hours behind everything on the East Coast, no matter what.
Absolutely. So when you are talking about something and so excited about something, you have to remember it's not airing at your same time.
SNL is a prime example. It is only live for the East Coast. Everybody else is on a tape delay.
Well, yes. Actually, no. You can catch it live if you're watching cable television.
True.
But if you watch it through any of the streaming services, you cannot watch it live. It's on.
Or if you're watching it on your own analog, for people like me who still have analog.
Exactly. So you are very limited, and it makes it very challenging because Twitter spoils SNL all the time. Yes, it's a comedy format, but
the cold open is what everybody's looking forward to every week.
Or weekend updates. And those get spoiled all the time because people and it's not just the general public. Even the companies make the mistake of spoiling because they will post something.
NBC puts the SNL stuff up on their YouTube channel as soon as the East Coast airing's done now.
Because of how much spoiler was going on. And so spoiler culture has become, I feel, worse since COVID.
Yeah, it definitely has.
Well, it's always been a problem. And I don't mean it's a problem like, oh my God, it's a problem we need to fix. It's just something where you need to have common sense.
And unfortunately, there are people out there who don't think, and then you have the article writers that are just trying to get a click.
Oh, clickbait is the worst. So YouTube, obviously, our podcasts are on YouTube, and we're going to make titles that encourage people to watch. But we don't do it in a clickbait manner that says, oh my God, this, and this, and just put keywords to high hell. But for spoiler culture, you'll have tons of clickbait titles that either unintentionally spoil something or convince you to click on it even though you know you're going to be spoiled.
Yeah. And spoiler culture is the one aspect where, even though I do it online as shitposting, I have respect for the shitpost community because half the time we're giving fake spoilers.
Yes. That's and that's a good point that I wish people would learn more about. We were told as children of the 80s and 90s, before the prevalence of the internet, is you could believe everything you read in a book. You couldn't believe everything you read in the newspaper, but you could a book because they were published. The moment the internet came out, we did believe everything we read, and we were then quickly told, do not believe everything you read.
Unless it has an academic certification online, don't believe it.
And now, because we get all of our resources online, Yes, we want you to love our podcast. We want you to believe everything we talk about. But fact check.
Yeah.
And if you see an article or a shitpost that tells you a spoiler, take it with a grain of salt. But if you are going to purposely put out spoilers there, like tried and true spoilers, or make memes about something less than 24 hours or less than 2 weeks, I think it's fair giving people time.
Yeah, for movies for 2 weeks. If it's a TV show or something, give it a few days.
If it airs on like a Monday, give it until Friday, because people DVR stuff all the time.
Streaming services, people have it sitting in their queue for who knows how long.
Well, and most streaming services, unless you pay for like the extravagant live television option, you don't get it until the following day.
Yeah.
And that's a problem because half the stuff will be spoiled by the following day. But be careful on Twitter. And social media has to have some accountability. I'm not saying that they can prevent people from posting, because that's not right, nor is it fair.
They can at least make filters easier to put in.
Well, especially if they had like a filter that you could put, like if you tag a television show, have where you could have an option to tag spoiler.
Yeah. Reddit, I believe, does have that option.
Yes, because they black out things. Because you do have the option in Reddit to black out text.
And have it come back to you when you're ready to have it.
Yes, because you can manually click on it to unredact it, so to speak. But Twitter doesn't do that. Twitter, which...
And Facebook doesn't let you do it either.
No, because for both Twitter and Facebook, they have... Everything is done by algorithms. So both have an algorithm system that says if it gets so many comments within an hour approximately at times, it will put it as trending. And things can maintain that trending status as long as there's continuous comments with a keyword. And it doesn't even have to be a hashtag or an @ keyword.
Yeah, just he who shall not be named was always on Twitter trending for an entire 4 years.
And and it was not trending just because of him at something. It was because the algorithm picked up his name. Or picked up the name. Like our last week's podcast, we talked about gatekeeping. Not everyone put gatekeeping or gatekeeper as like hashtag gatekeeping, hashtag gatekeeper. They just wrote that. Twitter's algorithm highlights it and adds it.
And it stayed up there, like we said in the last podcast, for almost a whole week because of one influencer.
Exactly. So when you do things like that and you have a show or a movie or any sort of property, be aware people are always looking. And the more people talk about it, which yes, it does add in more popularity and more interest in it, it does bring about the potential of spoiling something. Now, to be fair, there is no best time to talk about something that could spoil it for somebody else, because
every person's going to vary.
Absolutely. Like with Endgame. Most of us have seen the movie. It's been a couple of years, but I can guarantee you if we did a spoiler post, somebody would say something.
Because they're like, not everybody's seen it, which is correct, but at this point, I think everybody that's wanted to see Endgame has seen it by now.
Exactly.
That's why I brought up JoJo's at the beginning. It's like the one show I don't see anybody complain about spoiler culture on because it's been memed to hell.
Well, and it's been around for so long.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those few series that the manga has been around
35, it'll be going
for decades.
Yeah, it's going on 30 plus years now.
They're getting to Stone Ocean, which has been written in manga form.
1990s.
Exactly. So you're going on about 25 years for this current arc. Yes, people know what's going on. And there's been so many video game adaptations. Same thing with Dragon Ball. It's hard to it's hard to refrain from spoiling something like that because it's been around for 40 years.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like newer things or things that are currently airing, have excitement for it. Talk about it, but just be careful. And
especially as the summer movie season starts kicking up on the streaming services. Weird to say that's the streaming services now. You're going to have to be conscious. Not everybody has access to these premium streaming services because they can't pay for it. And even though they're still going to be showing in theaters, like here, we don't know when theaters are going to open back up.
Well, exactly. And so we have to have a little bit more patience, especially more so now than before. But at the same time, while we cannot stop people from spoiling things. We cannot stop shit posters. We cannot end that. Obviously, this is topic really just talking about what spoiler culture is, how the harm it can do. There is some positivity behind it at the same time. Within spoiler culture, yes, you do have people who hold the plot sacred. They still want to talk about it.
Yeah,
and they're isolated.
Yeah, it's a connection for fans, and especially with everything going on, it's still allowing people to talk about their fandom.
Absolutely. And we can't stop that. We have, especially right now, the highest level of isolation between humans than ever before. And it's not by choice. It's by safety. So in this type of situation, as unideal as it is, more spoiler possibilities are going to happen because you need to get it out. You need to connect with other people so you don't feel more isolated than you already are.
Yeah, well, what we used to call the water cooler talk, which doesn't really exist unless you're in an industry that still has in-person communication.
And even that, you still don't have the water cooler because you can't congregate.
Yeah.
So you're very limited on how you can connect with people. And due to that, you have to do what you can do. And if your family and friends don't watch it, the only other option you have is online. So it's a no-win situation. However, if you do want to talk to people about it online, just put a spoiler tag. And if it's something that you really are wanting to see, but you're so afraid of being spoiled, I hate to say it to you, avoid looking at the trending page for Twitter or looking at the trending page for Facebook or Reddit.
Or any other social media network that is known for having the spoiler culture.
Yes. And if somebody does accidentally spoil something that you're eager to see, don't get angry at the person. They may have done it unintentionally.
Yeah.
I still get reminded of my unintentional spoiler for One Piece, and that has happened 8-9 years ago.
It's going on 10 years since that happened, so I wouldn't really call it something we'd have to worry on spoiler culture, because at this point, I think the One Piece fans are invested.
Yes, so obviously one of the major characters in One Piece died many years ago, so it's not recent. I accidentally spoiled it for kaiju. He will never, still to this day, let me live that down. But...
And I did the same thing with Death Note with L to somebody.
Oh my god, and that's like the worst, that's like the most pivotal plot item ever. But we all make mistakes. Because we're so in love with whatever we watch. I have to bite my tongue whenever a new Marvel movie comes out. Because obviously, I try to see it right away. Because I love the franchise so much, just like yourself.
Oh, yeah.
But I know family members of mine are not going to see it as quickly as me. So I have to bite my tongue every time I see it.
It's like with WandaVision right now. I know so many people are just waiting for all 9 episodes.
That's what I'm doing. And I know that's a detriment because we did the same thing with both Mandalorian seasons. We're waiting for the entire season to come out before we watch. And it's so scary because I was spoiled on 2 things. Obviously, I wasn't fully spoiled because when they both happened, I was like, okay, that's not what I was expecting type of thing. But you put yourself at risk if you do that too. Especially if it's a premium service that airs week to week. You know you're taking a chance. So you have to be prepared for anything.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing we just need to take away with this. Just be prepared. And don't let the trolls on social media get to you. That's the other thing to take away from this.
Oh my God. We need to do an entire podcast on just trolls. But in truth, trolls in pop culture, they're going to exist forever. You may very well be one of those trolls.
You live with one of those
I was going to say, I live with one of those trolls, and I'm sitting next to one of those trolls. So they happen. And trolls don't mean maliciousness. They just mean they're having fun. But not everyone enjoys that sense of humor.
Yeah, it's like it went from being trolling for us to just, we evolved from the trolls to the more conscious shit poster. We're doing it for the giggles, and most other people are going to get on the in-joke now.
Well, exactly. People get in on the joke. But if you don't get on the joke, or if you're just not interested in potential spoilers, even if they're fake, just avoid putting yourself in that situation, but just don't get angry about it. Spoiler culture has existed for at least, I would say, 20 years.
Yeah. Basically since the advent of early social media with MySpace, I would say.
Yes. Because once you had AOL, oh my God, I'm aging myself here, with AIM, means AOL Instant Messenger, if anybody wasn't sure, I think spoiler culture has existed since then.
You want me to go older? Chatbot.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we're both aging ourselves here.
Oh. But on that note, be happy, enjoy pop culture, because that's what we're here for, and don't be angry about it. Life goes on. There is worse things to be worried about than a spoiler.
And we promise our next episodes are going to go more on a lighthearted subject.
I kind of feel like we've been preaching, but there's just so much that has been going on that we need to talk about.
Yeah, there's been a lot. We will do another character focus episode coming up. We just don't know who yet.
We're noodling on it because there's so many good characters, and the challenge with doing character focuses is you really want to get it right. But if you have any suggestions of characters you'd like us to analyze and talk about, please do put it in the chat, because we're always looking for fresh ideas.
Look it down in the comments section, and you guys can find us on social media. Just let us message us or even add us on our social media platforms.
Absolutely. I'm at Cruellica Kain or Kelly Kain.
I'm at Advent Nebula. Only place you'll find me really is on Twitter. Because all my other social networking, because of my tendency to have a job where I need to keep myself professional on my others, I have my real name for the others, so you'll have to find me at Advent Nebula on Twitter.
And I'm at Cruellic, Kruellic. I have been using that name for forever because I love Cruella de Vil. But on that note, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you on the flip side.